Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Nacho Problems, where we turn ordinary recipes into extraordinary nachos. I'm Nacho Queen, but you can call me M. We're going to extend our break from the world tour for 2 more weeks while we make some viewer-requested recipes. First up, we're making chicken Alfredo nachos. Now, some of you might think this should be an Italian dish, but here in the US, Alfredo sauce is very different from its Italian origins, and I think we've insulted Italy quite enough not to ask them to take credit for this one. Let's get started. Step 1, the chips. For our chips, we're going to be making a copycat of Olive Garden's breadsticks, and for that we need 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons or 250 grams warm water, 2 tablespoons or 25 grams sugar, 3 tablespoons or 42 grams butter, melted, 1 3/4 teaspoons salt, reduce if using salted butter, 3 cups or 381 grams of bread flour, plus more for dusting, and 1½ teaspoons of yeast. We're going to start by adding all of that to the pan of my bread maker, Bread Zeppelin. My machine calls for adding all of the other ingredients before the flour and yeast, and to create a little well in the flour for the yeast to sit in. Then we'll just pop that in the machine, set it to the dough cycle, and go watch YouTube videos for 90 minutes. Once our timer goes off, we're going to sprinkle the counter with a little bit of flour before turning out our dough and punching it down. Now, if you want to make normal sized breadsticks, you should divide your dough into 12 even pieces. I want fatter rolls so that we can slice them into chips, so I'm going for 8 pieces. Next, you want to take each piece and tuck in all the edges, roll it into a log shape, and place it on a baking sheet. Then we need to leave them to rise in a warm place, usually the oven with just the light on works, for another 90 minutes. Now preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 degrees Celsius and bake them for 10 to 12 minutes. While they're baking, let's gather what we need for the topping, and that's 2 tablespoons butter, ½ teaspoon salt, and 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder. Okay, let's get these out of the oven. Then add the salt and garlic to our melted butter and brush that over the top of our rolls. Now allow them to cool slightly before slicing them into little round chips. Then we're going to brush them with a little more of the butter and stick them under the broiler for just 1 to 2 minutes to toast. Do not leave them for 3 minutes like I did. Don't worry, I'll be able to salvage these. That's our chips. Let's move on to Step 2, the toppings. So obviously for chicken Alfredo, our topping needs to be chicken. And all we need for that is some chicken breasts, salt, and pepper, and a little oil for the pan. Normally I'd ask cameraman to grill these, but it's like 30 degrees out tonight, so I've got my cast iron pan heated up on my stovetop here. I'm going to brush it with a little olive oil, and then it's out of shot, but I sprinkled the chicken breasts with a little salt and pepper, and now I'm going to grill them for about 3 minutes on each side. Now my stove really isn't designed for this pan since the back burner is small. That's why that last breast didn't get as well browned. Once I have them browned on both sides, I'm going to place the breasts on a sheet pan and finish them in the oven at 375 Fahrenheit or 190 C for 5 to 10 minutes or until the internal temperature of the thickest part reaches 165 Fahrenheit or 74 C. I know I use a lot of gadgets on this channel, but the only one I feel you absolutely must have is a meat thermometer. One last tip, if the chicken seems to be stuck to the pan, it means it's not browned yet. Leave it a little bit longer. Well, that's our topping. Let's move on to Step 3, the cheese. The Alfredo sauce will be our cheese, and for that we need 2 tablespoons butter, 2 tablespoons flour. Now you can use ½ a cup of chicken broth, but I just use about a teaspoon of this bouillon paste. That way I get the flavor without watering down my sauce. 1 cup of heavy cream, or half and half, depending on how rich you want your sauce to be. I'm opting for half and half because it's what I have on hand today. 2 tablespoons Parmesan cheese, a pinch of nutmeg. We're talking like 1/8 of a teaspoon or less. There should just be a suggestion of nutmeg, not an indecent proposal. Lastly, although not pictured, you may need 1/4 to 1/2 cup milk in case your sauce is too thick. If you're using this for pasta, a little bit of the pasta water is good for that too. Start by melting your butter in a small saucepan over medium heat. Then add in the flour and whisk for 1 to 2 minutes until fully combined and slightly golden in color. Next, we're going to add in the bouillon paste and whisk for another minute. Then pour in the half and half. Be sure to scrape the bottom and side of the pot really well to get everything completely combined. Now cook for 2 to 3 minutes until it begins to thicken. Mine's a bit thicker than I want, so let's add a splash of milk and cook for another minute. Then add in the Parmesan and nutmeg, give it one last good stir, and that's our cheese. Now for our favorite part. Step 4, let's eat. We'll start off with some of our toasted breadsticks. Drizzle on some of the Alfredo sauce. Top with the chicken. And I think a sprinkle of fresh parsley for some color. Now, normally we'd spin the wheel to see who gets to be taste tester, but Youngson claims to be an Alfredo sauce connoisseur. Wow, it wins the coveted 5 axolotl rating. A rare honor to be sure. I'd also like to thank my friend Raffin, who loves cooking almost as much as he loves woodworking, for suggesting this recipe. It was so good. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a like and please consider subscribing if you want to see more nacho videos. If you have an idea for a future video, you can leave a comment below or tag me on the site previously known as Twitter. I'm at NachoProblemsYT. I've also linked my Blue Sky below, but you won't find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Threads. If you're looking to steal my apron, well, that's Nacho merch, but you can get your own at a link in the description. Now, I need to start prepping the garden for spring planting, and that's going to require adding almost 100 cubic feet of soil. But unless you're my chiropractor, that's not your problem. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.